Hello. It's been a while since I've done one of these. Um, Nobody asked me to read this one specifically, but I think that's more of a reason why I should be reading this because that's what sprouts the best content. Now, last time I did this, it was a little more uh, go with the flow. This time, I'll try to slow down a little bit and express my thoughts a little more while I'm reading instead of just trying to get through it as fast as possible. I did scroll a little bit, and it does seem like each chapter might be a little shorter. Now, 129 divided by 18 is still a lot per chapter, but hopefully the word length ramps up as the chapters go on, and the first couple aren't too long, because I don't want to be here forever. But without further ado, this is, I believe, a very famous or infamous fan fiction. Of course, I don't read fan fictions that often, so I've never read this, which makes this all the better. This is Repent by Akusaka. Quick summary. A second sensei, a more handsome, well-spoken, and free-minded adult male, has appeared on Kivodos. Wonderful. I do believe then there will be some tension between the original first one and this second protagonist one, I have to assume. Slowly, one by one, the students fall for the second sensei while forgetting about the original sensei. Okay, revenge story. Their minds soon become twisted and then lash out at sensei for not being as good enough as the newcomer, even after everything he has done for them. After countless abuse that lasted over 6 months, the original sensei decides to leave Kivodos that has now become infested with traitors. Okay, Footsteps Left by Dreams. I believe that's V3C3 or V1C3. Sorry, I think I did read. No, I did read it. I hope I remember the details. Hopefully, I remember the important ones because I don't really remember the story details too well. Off the bat, I am wondering like how well the first sensei taught his students. If we're going off of how the canon story goes, I mean, obviously there's gonna have to be big changes because in the canon story, a lot of the students already admire him very much. So either the second sensei has to literally be like a deity, or this first sensei is slightly tweaked version that's not as impressive as the one in story. To be honest, the one in the actual story, not the most amazing person, but in the context of the story itself, he has done a lot of accomplishments. He is a very accomplished person. So let's just read. Let me tell you my story. First person, this is going to be great. It looks like it's all quotations. Okay, here we go. Do I want to give him a voice like a like a broken vigilante type of voice? Okay. After Joshua, bro, it's gonna be the exact same voice. What am I doing? I've done it. I can't even read the second word. It's so over. I've dedicated everything for the students, sacrificed my blood, sweat, and tears for them, and I didn't regret a single second. We achieved miracles together and thought we could make a brighter future. But after that second sensei appeared and turned my students against me, now I'm not so sure. He was a dashing man compared to me, who wasn't the most handsome of fellows. At first, we worked together to offer more help to the students, but slowly all the workload was more focused on me, while he took all the credit. He wasn't really good at it, so I thought, what the hell, as long as it's for the students. But the funny part is, everyone bought it. Must be nice to have a pretty face. I've stumbled to find him being a bit too intimate. Oh my god, here we go. I've stumbled to find him being a bit too intimate to the students. I asked him about it, and his answer baffled me. If they want it. Wait, I have to give him a voice. If they want it, why should I stop them? What's wrong with me? I kindly asked him to stop, that we should be professionals. They're our students, and we're their senseis. He left the room, saying he understood, but I didn't buy it one bit. A few months later, almost all of the students were on his side. Just going off of what I feel like the students are as people, at least Wakamo probably wouldn't switch over so quickly, and as I said again, based on how the original sensei is, and based on the details shown here, it's a little bit of a stretch to say that most of the students suddenly turned on him, or not, didn't turn on him, but suddenly, started favoring the second sensei more. I feel like some of the more perceptive students, Yuka, Hina, maybe even Hoshino, Shiroko, Noah, maybe. Rio's a special case. Kisaki, like characters like those. Kikyo, maybe? I feel like those characters should be a little more attentive to small details like that. And I guess as an adult, as a sensei, it is easy to put up a facade of confidence, especially if there's someone working in the shadows and not trying to expose you for being a fraud, which is the first sensei here. Yeah, I guess. I mean, if the cards line up properly, that's fine. The students who looked up to me now are hurting me as pranks. Almost all my income is now used for medical bills, which I'm sure will not last. Yuka, give and take, am I right? When I collapsed from overworking, she and Akko beat me up until I got back to work, saying I was a nuisance. When I go outside, I am a laughingstock and come back home with more injuries, only to find my possessions in shambles. As I lie down on the cold floor, the bruises I suffered from both CNC and the JTF stung like hell. Nobody believes what I say. Nobody cares how hard I work. Nobody cares if I need help. No matter how much I beg them to stop hurting me, they only laugh and continue to treat me like trash. I'm not the most perfect person, but I did my best. Am I being punished because I'm not perfect? Because I'm not as handsome or tall as the other sensei? Why? I've done nothing to deserve this. I'm not a machine. I'm not a cog that's easily replaced. I sacrificed everything. For what? To people who don't care about me? I have feelings. I have needs. I'm not okay. Yeah, these students are a little different from... I mean, there's a little bit of a conspiracy-like explanation I can give out here, which is like the first sensei or the second sensei has some sort of mystical charm ability, and it's not just raw charisma. You never know, it could be something like that. I'm reminded of the charisma hat from SAO Abridged, which achieves that exact purpose. Anyway, 4 months had passed, and I'm lucky to even be alive. The prick went to a party with the rest, leaving me all the work. Heard he got someone knocked up, can't tell since I lost count. Same old, same old. Okay, that escalated a little bit, didn't take a turn per se, but that certainly went in a direction that I didn't expect. Up 90 degrees. But now, I'm not just going to take it anymore. If nobody cares about me, why should I? I'm leaving Kivodos. But not back to my world. Oh no. I'm going far away so no one can find me, just to see how this all ends. The bastard is misusing funds in the millions, and last I checked, there wasn't a single successful mission that I hadn't intervened in. Which the students blame me for it. What a surprise. The cracks are already showing, and this time I'm not going to stop it. Arona and Plana transferred themselves from the chest to my own tablet. They're my only reason how I lasted all these days. Okay, so it does seem like he has allies, at least Arona and Plana. I guess they're literally with him, they see what he's been doing. At least he's not completely alone. That would make for even more unbelievable story, but at least the Shidam Chest twins are with him. That does make it a little more understandable. As I reached the far ends of Kivodos, I remember Kuroko, who left a few weeks ago, saying that she's sorry she was unable to stop this from happening. She tried her best before the Abydos committee stopped her. I just hope she's doing well sometimes. Or somewhere. For Nepotes, you were wrong. It isn't a supernatural entity or a cataclysm event that's Kivodos' downfall. It's the students themselves. I wanted to believe they could be convinced that we still have time to fix this, but all I got was disappointment after disappointment. After all, how could mere children truly understand us? And again, there are a handful of students who have the maturity of respectable adults, but I suppose not in this story. Discounting, of course, Kuroko, who I suppose has enough trauma to see past the bullshit. I took refuge at an old abandoned automaton factory in the outskirts of Kivodos. There's not much to call home, but some tidying up and preparing should fix things right up. Every day, Aruna and Plana cry themselves to sleep, saying they were helpless to do anything, that they didn't deserve to be at my side. I cuddled them, somehow, until they were done from their mental breakdown. Their tears steeled my resolve of wishing nothing but revenge for the ones responsible. I wonder if that means just the sensei and the students, maybe one or both. I don't know. I mean, if he's gonna go out and say that the children can't understand them as adults, then are they responsible for this mess? Because if we're saying that children don't know better, given some events like, let's say, Eden 4, Eden 3 and 4, 2, 3, 4, I don't really remember the chapter breakdown, but Mika's whole arc, Sayori's whole situation, I feel like there's something else. Fox Squad, kind of. I mean, that was just Kaya mostly. I mean, she counts as a student too. Just small stuff like that. It's if Canon Sensei is a type to forgive those, I mean, one of them shot him. Okay, let's start with that. Sayori, is pretty crazy. I mean, that's more physical, not really emotional. In this case, I guess Yuka and Akko beating him up, that's crazy in its own right. Again, I'm just wondering, like, Yuka is one of those rational ones who wouldn't do something like that. I'm not saying there aren't students who might potentially beat him up in canon, but just, I don't know. It's odd to think that all of these students are this drawn to the other sensei's charisma that suddenly, I don't know, months and years of time that they spent with the original sensei is not. N-A-U-G-H-T. But we'll see. 1 week. 1 week was all it took for the bastard's demise. He made my life a living hell for over half a year, and he couldn't last a full week. For someone to turn all the students against me, he was certainly not bright. Kivodos was falling apart quickly without me, and the prick decided to take command of the field to try and bolster the students' spirits. Only for KMC's automaton to make a new bullet-sized hole to his head. Not so tough without a run in the adult card, is it? Just as the bastard met his mediocre end, all of Kivodos had started looking for me. They burst into tears, groveling in the ground, apologizing at the hollow space, begging me begging me to forgive them. The contrast, downright hilarious. They seemed so fine a week ago, when they were busy treating me like a slave with a smile on their faces. Seeing how they were looking for every nook and cranny inside Kivodos, it was only a matter of time until they began searching outwards. When they end up finding me, I'll be ready. I didn't waste a week doing nothing. Okay, second sensei met his end a little quicker than I expected. I thought we were gonna get more of watching like how Kivodos breaks down. To have him die so quickly just feels kind of cheap, and maybe it's because the story wasn't intended to be about how the second sensei falls from grace, if he had any to begin with. It's more so just him getting revenge on the students, I suppose, which is fine. We'll have to see how that plays out in the next couple chapters. I don't know, just all of that setup as the second sensei being someone who would be satisfying to take down. The fact that he's already dead makes it feel like we lost an avenue that would be really fascinating to explore. Like, not even for any, high-end purpose, like any characterization or not. Okay, that's not the word to use. Like any deep themes like that. Just a revenge story that starts with the man who took all the students away. That would be really cool. But he's gone. So, okay, we'll have to see where this goes. 3 days later, the whole city was outside my doorstep. I've got to hand it to Veritas. They sure know their stuff. Add Chihiro to the list of rational ones who should have been able to see past that. They cried their eyes out on the sight of me. Some tried running towards me before I yelled at them to stop. They begged for forgiveness, begged me to return to their deteriorating city, that it was wrong how they treated me, regretting to ever side with that bastard to begin with, that they can't live on without me. I answered all their pleas with a burst of laughter. I laid out every horrible deed they've done, every physical, mental abuse they inflicted to me, treating me like someone who's only there to be sacrificed for their gains, treating me like a slave with no rights, humiliating me on front of countless people, spreading propaganda on things I haven't done, torturing me for things I haven't done, taking away my livelihood, leaving me in the dirt without a single coin, countless attempted murders, countless scars that could never be erased. How they can so easily betray my trust like it was some kind of worthless trash. But the worst sin I couldn't forgive was that they turned on the few students who were loyal to me. There we go. Okay. Whew, whew. Mika, along with all of Gehenna and Trinity, took down Hina, chopping off her legs for treason. Mika? No, Mika was a traitor? No. I thought she was one of the good ones. Wakamo. Okay, called that one. Wakamo lost her left eye to Hoshino and was left to rot in a cell for trying to assassinate the plague that was ruining Kivotos. Rushing? How to read that? Okay, so Hina, Wakamo. I mean, Yuka was already swept out. So most of the students listed here are the ones that are like emotionally attached to the original sensei. So that'll be Hina, as mentioned here. I'm really surprised that Mika was part of the corrupted list. That really doesn't make sense to me. To me, Mika would be like even higher than Wakamo, because Wakamo's more obsessed with him. Mika, her life was literally saved by Sensei. She should have more of an attachment to the original one. So that really makes me doubt what happened to her character. Hina makes a lot of sense. Wakamo makes a lot of sense. Ibuki, 0 out of 10 fanfiction. Don't hurt Ibuki. Ibuki was badly beaten up by the Sisterhood. Okay. Only for trying to spread good word for me. I mean, Ibuki getting hurt, I feel like that would at least make Iroha on Sensei's side. Makoto, she's a little bit of a 50-50, you know. And the Arya squad, Toki, killed all of them in cold blood. All in the name of that godforsaken monster. Okay, Arius, I can't believe I didn't mention them. Rabbit's squad is like 70-30. They have no reason to betray the original sensei, but they're more likely to than Arius for sure. Especially if Mika did. Now I can't believe whether anyone would side with this sensei or not. Everyone was dead silent until I was finished and gasping for air. I couldn't stomach their crocodile tears any longer and asked them to leave. Only for them to draw their weapons at me, saying that everyone needs me and will repent for their actions after I return to Kivotos together. However, I wasn't expecting that they would back off without a fight. Hundreds of newly advanced automatons created with the combined help of Verona, Decagrammaton, and Black Suit flooded out of the abandoned factory and began countering the students. They were no match against the shining blue knights of white armor, along with the aid of my new Shidam chest. Aruna hijacked any vehicles and machines they possessed, including Toki's Abi Eshu. And the powerhouses like Mika, Hoshino, Tsurugi, and Neru, well, nothing a card couldn't easily handle. Again, why is Mika part of this list? Why is Hoshino part of this list? Why is Tsurugi part of this list? And why is Neru part of this list? Neru, okay. I mean, given all the other students, Neru makes a little sense. Mika, again, I've said 1,000 times, makes 0 sense. I can't believe I didn't mention it earlier. Hoshino, after the event of V1C1, V1C2, makes no sense. Tsurugi, she had the similar level of attachment that Wakamo had to the original sensei, so that does not make a lot of sense. Neru, I mean, I guess. It was my victory in a landslide. For the 3 days it took for them to find me, it only took 3 hours for them to end up in shambles. After that, I took control of the city and neutralized the leftover forces in Kivotos. Neutralized? Okay. I could have done this much earlier to easily claim my victory, but I couldn't risk putting innocent people in the city in harm's way. The students were quickly rushed to the hospital by my permission to go back in one piece. They were my students after all, unlike Aron and Plana who wanted them to suffer more. No, that was for the special cases. Before they could be carried away, I ordered the automatons to break Mika, Hoshino, Hinata's limbs and brand their bodies with superheated lasers. So we really targeted Hinata just because she's physically strong. I feel like she couldn't have really been that crazy. Their limbs will heal, but the scars will remind them forever of their sins. As for Toki, I chopped off her legs and branded her face personally, before she was sent off in haste. I could hear her demented laughter getting smaller, as well as the ambulance she was carried in. Maybe from pain or guilt? To be frank, it doesn't matter. What she's going through wasn't nearly enough to avenge the precious life she took. Okay, Arius is perma-dead, gotta remember that. In the end, after 3 weeks, I returned to Kivoto's as sensei once more, only to stop them from invading my peace with their fake tears and apologies. Besides, I couldn't abandon the place where it still had students that cherished me. The first place I visited was the hospital in Gehenna, where Hina, Wakamo, and Ibuki were waiting for me. I opened the door and witnessed my sins manifest. Hina's legs were gone. There was nothing left but beneath her upper thighs, as she was helplessly bound to a wheelchair. She froze the moment she saw me, as if I'd come back from the dead. Wakamo saw me with tears in her eye. Her left face was covered in bandages. Even after gone, that side of her eye would never see the light of day. My hands shook of how she could still see me with so much love. And Ibuki. I never saw her so thin before. It was as if there was nothing but skin and bone. Despite her seeming to pass out at any second, she greeted me with childish glee, like everything she had to go through was nothing but a bad dream. But thank God they were still alive. Witnessing the state they were in, I collapsed to my knees and burst into tears, which I thought dried up a long time ago. I squeezed apologies through my tears, that I was sorry I couldn't be there with them, that I couldn't protect them when they needed me, that I was too weak to be called their sensei. Even after I shunned the students of their tears, now I was no different from them, a pathetic, weak hypocrite. Instead, they came to me, embracing me in their frail arms and cried alongside me. We all cried until we could no longer muster any sound. Next, I visited the graves of Sayori, Misaki, Hiyori, Atsuko. Seems Millennium prepared their burials a few days ago, before I returned to the city. Not that it changes anything. I hugged their graves, wishing if only they were able to hug me back, to forgive me of my sins. But it was too late for that. There, I met the Makeup Work Club, the only club in Trinity that did not antagonize me, and the only ones who visited these lonely graves. Hifumi, Hanako, Azusa, and Koharu came running, and I greeted them with open arms. Their voices choked through tears, apologizing that they were sorry. Bit overwording there. That they couldn't do more for me because they were afraid. I shook my head as I embraced them tightly, failing to stop the tears of my own, begging them to stop thinking the fault was on them. If they hadn't held back, they would have followed the same fate as the Arya squad. And even then, they still suffered consequences, being treated like outcasts inside Trinity. The least I could do was make sure this sort of tragedy would never happen. That I solemnly swore upon their graves. Before I left, I handed Azusa Sayori's cap, the only thing I managed to find of her belongings. She was the only one who deserved to have this. Azusa fell to her knees as she embraced it closely, letting out a sorrowful apology that would never be reached. As the Makeup Work Club left the resting grounds alongside Sensei, they squared their eyes away from the direction of their once beloved and proud school. Away from the revolting snake pit. Away from Nagisa and the Tea Party. Away from the JTF. And there was Azusa, looking down at the only keepsake left of her fallen sisters. Between her cries, Azusa murmured the name responsible for the fallen, as she trembled with furious rage. Alongside my truly trusted by my side, I governed Kavodas with an iron fist, a sensei to the newcomers of the city, promising them a bright and better future, and a ruthless punisher for those who have sinned, which I will make sure they never forget. There may come a time where I could forgive them, but not before I carve in both their body and spirit a suffering, that they won't try this again in this life or the next. Welcome to Kivodos. Okay, so the prologue chapter really reveals that this wasn't about watching the downfall of Kivodos, it was more watching how Sensei gets revenge on a bunch of students that tortured him in the backstory. That reminds me a lot of someone also did make this comparison to me. Redo of Healer, where most of the tragedy that happens to him is like episode 1, and then the next entire rest of the first season is just how he tortures everyone that he believes deserves it, which is fine. It's a fine story plot, the revenge aspect. Just personally, I'm more interested in the downfall aspect in addition to the revenge aspect. It feels like watching everything crumble down because of hubris or other stuff like that heavily adds to the satisfaction, and I would say that's more satisfying than the actual revenge part, because the revenge part, it feels a little bit like wish fulfillment. It feels like getting more than you already need, because them breaking apart because of their own undoing is already, if you could call it, revenge, even though you didn't do anything. The fact that your inaction indirectly leads to everything falling apart, to me that already feels like satisfactory revenge. But the point of this story seems to be hands-on revenge and inflicting extra pain onto those who directly harmed him, which makes sense. In this story, for some reason, a lot of the students really took it an extra step to really dig into him, which I feel like the second sensei didn't even tell him to do that, and he probably didn't even insinuate that they should do that. I just felt like they wanted to. I don't know. Were half of the students sadistic or something? Because I don't think there was any reason why they had to do that. It just feels really extra to give, and I'm pretty sure it's a lot in part that he needed a reason to directly have revenge on all the students. He needed a personal reason that he could go and enact revenge on everyone in, I assume, the coming chapters. And it really feels like conveniently curated that a lot of the students just suddenly decided to mistreat him to an extra level that was really not necessary. It would, and like in stories like, I just brought this up, Redo of Healer, I'm pretty sure the main girl who becomes, his slave, I think, that was just her character, someone who was really just ill-willed of a person. In these cases, we know who these students are, and we know that they are mostly good-hearted people. So the fact that they just started grilling into Sensei like this towards the end just did not make a lot of sense to me, and it really makes this feel less of what could be like a what if scenario, and it really makes it feel a lot more like wish fulfillment, fetish fulfillment, which is of course fine, and we're going to see how that plays out in chapter 2. The failed hero. So if I do remember, Hina, Wakamo, and Ibuki are now ruined. Conveniently, 2 of them are from Gehenna. And it is really funny that, based on the metrics of this story, it does feel like Gehenna seems to be some of the most loyal students to Sensei. No one from Hyakuyaku showed up, which is interesting. I mean, who would? Chisei? I mean, Chisei doesn't really... I feel like Chisei would not turn against Sensei. She wouldn't. She's like the least sadistic person there. So I wonder if we're gonna see Hyakuyaku students later. Anyway, let's see. After forcing the GDD members to leave the club room, Sensei approaches Aris, which she was sitting neatly on the floor completely still, as if she had just fallen asleep. However, it had been 2 months since she had last moved from that exact spot. Alice can't decide. Alice can't hurt either her friends or Sensei. But why? Sensei is a good person. Why does everyone hate him? And love that other person? What should Alice do? A hero shouldn't run away from her responsibility. Alice has to decide. After being stuck with an ultimatum of either fighting Sensei or all her friends, she couldn't stand the pressure and shut herself off. Despite her calm posture, her face was that of a marionette, lifeless and empty. painting the despair and hopelessness of Arisu's last moment, that she had done nothing to stop the man hurting her beloved sensei, that she had decided to run away from her choices, that she had failed as a hero. No matter what the GDD and the others in Millennium tried, she didn't wake up, even after the death of the one responsible for all the chaos. Day after day, Alice was still as a rock, silently judging the DDD. Day after day, Alice was still as a rock, silently judging the DDD. What's wrong with me? Day after day, Alice was still as a rock, silently judging the GDD and anyone who visited the clubroom with their frozen gaze for what they've done. In her last moments, she couldn't close her eyes, because she wanted to see their pathetic faces, hear them say their apologies that were already too late, of what they made her do, make an innocent girl cut herself off from the outside world? Or rather, was it out of shame that she failed to make the hard decisions and decided to run away and set her mind? Her unwavering image of the hero of light had completely broken down. She was a failure of a hero, just a scared little girl, and she wanted the whole world to see for who she really was. And now, even the man standing right in front of her, the one she wanted to see again so much. When he met Alice's vacant eyes, Sensei covered his mouth to keep his tears and guilt from inside from overflowing, but soon quickly failed. That realization that he left a sweet, innocent girl all on her own, pushed to the limit until she decided to literally shut herself off from the world, was too much to bear as Sensei collapsed on all fours as he let out a sorrowful cry. But then, the voice recognition system within Alice noticed the familiar voice, and as her dormant systems began to spark, she confirmed the results 1,000 times over within milliseconds, and her eyes slowly began to regain some light. During that process, Sensei, wrapped in guilt, crawled towards Alice to hold her still hand. The moment his hand went into contact, Alice's systems, along with her eyes, lit up like fireworks. There was no mistaking it, as her hand gently held onto his in reflex. Sensei looked up in surprise, and the two gazes met, both watering with tears at the same time. I didn't expect the POV to change like that, and there's a lot of students that I'd failed to consider, and Alice was one of them. Again, at this point, it was already Mika who really turned the story on its head, but just most of the students, I really can't predict whether they'd be on his side or not, because in my view, most of them should be, if it's going based off of canon details. And the fact that this takes place after, I believe it was V1C3, if that's the case, most of these students should have no reason to turn on him like that. And he did list a couple that would make a lot of sense for them to not turn on him. Again, a lot more should have not. And even if I had to give a couple examples of students who might, it's really a stretch to say that they would. So it's just really hard to say. Without a second of hesitation, both student and teacher embraced each other in open arms. After what seemed like eternity, Alice finally reclaimed her light. And this makes sense. The way the story times Alice's return. Again, had it been the type of story where we first saw everything falling apart before Sensei returns, then we could see the events of Alice breaking down, Hina getting overwhelmed, Wakamo, Ibuki. And that's the type of stuff that, to really drive the emotional impact of this story, you would want to actually flesh out those scenes. Again, it really seems like the point is not how everything broke down, but the events of how everyone who was mistreated gets their revenge, which we will see how that happens, of course. After Alice confronted the GDD about believing the fake news conjured by Veritas and Mari, the horrid tale picturing Sensei taking advantage of several young students by force. Not only did the GDD believe it, but their involvement in twisting the tale even further through social media, leading to an escalation of Sensei's severe abuse on top of what he was already receiving. How could you? Hadn't Sensei gone through enough? How many more did you have to make him suffer? We weren't thinking straight. It's like we weren't ourselves. I swear I didn't mean to hurt Sensei. Again, like I said, was that second Sensei's charisma like mystical, or were some of these students just genuinely 0 IQ? It would be really interesting if it turned out that the charisma was a mystic thing. The only problem is that because that Sensei's now dead, it really doesn't matter either way. Because if he was still alive, let's say, then we would be able to get some more depth about what kind of character that second Sensei was. Maybe he was some sort of non-human. Clearly not, because he got one tapped. But There's just a lot of paths that would have been really interesting to explore, but instead we are just fully focused on this revenge aspect. So let's keep going. It's all my fault. I can't fake a hiccup. I'm sorry. It's all my fault. I should have stopped everyone. I'm sorry, Alice. I don't want to hear it. To think you were Alice's friends. You're nothing but demons. Alice decided it was the final straw and decided to leave the club for good. But as Yuzu and Momoi I'm sorry. But as Yuzu and Momoi tried to convince Aris from leaving, Midori, on the edge of the massive backlash they received, snaps at Alice. What about you, Alice? What? What did you do? Did you do anything to stop it? You're strong. You could have done something. Maybe go up to Veritas and force him to stop making those stories. Or maybe you could have protected Sensei from all the bullying. But if Alice did that, she would have... You did nothing. You shut yourself off. You ran away. So much for calling yourself a hero, you coward. It must be so convenient to have your very own escape button, huh? Do you know what we have to go through every day? Do you have any idea how hard it is to convince myself every morning of why I should even exist? But I do it anyway. We all do, because at least we have the guts to owe up to our mistakes. That's enough, Midori! Midori flinches at her twin sister's scolding. She soon comes back to her senses, soon flooding with tears as she apologizes to Alice, who just simply stood still like a stone. I'm sorry, Alice. I don't have any right to blame you. Forgive me. Let's just stay calm, everyone. We're all on edge right now. Alice, please reconsider. Just as Yuzu grabs Alice's hand, a tornado of emotion surges inside Alice. Soon, she pushes Yuzu with enough force to knock her off her feet. Yuzu, Alice, what... Momoi turned her head to confront Alice, but she froze at the sight of her eyes. They were different. Do not compare yourselves and the princess. It doesn't change the fact that you all turned on Sensei, and she hadn't. Alice's eyes were no longer the color of turquoise, but instead of that pinkish red, Kay had returned once more so that Alice wouldn't be alone in her darkest hours. The princess doesn't wish harm on any of you, so I will not engage any further. But before I head to Chalet, I will leave all of you a warning. Do not come near the princess, or Sensei, or Chalet. The princess might not want to fight you, but I will. Kay warned them by moving her hand close to her railgun. The others trembled in fear as they froze in their tracks. Stay out of our way. Without a home to return to, Sensei and Alice now lived in Chalet's office together. The GSC and Millennium offered to build a house, a more bigger and luxurious one, but Sensei refused to accept any of their help. Okay, when we say Millennium, who in Millennium? We know that the Veritas and Himari and Yuka apparently are well against him, and all GDD sans Aris. Now, who does that leave? Noah? Koyuki? Sumire? I guess she wouldn't really go against Sensei. Rei? Come on, her relevance is off the charts. Downward. Who else? That germanium bracelet girl, the pseudoscience girl. Rio, as I mentioned. Toki, clearly on the other Sensei side for reasons that were obvious in the first chapter. Amy, I guess she would follow Himari just cause. It's not a lot of people. Like, who is Millennium? Millennium, the government? That would just be Seminar, and Yuka was already against him apparently, and we have no word as to whether Noah and Koyuki were, so Koyuki as if she has any authority, mostly Noah. Alice also declined, threatening Hibiki to leave, who was begging on her knees in front of Sensei to let her help him. Sensei had to calm Alice down as she was furious when kicking out Hibiki. It was almost like she was about to attack her. She didn't need a fancy house, she was just happy that she could live in Chalet with Sensei, which also meant getting to spend time with him from day to night. After her gaming sessions with Ibuki, Alice's duty helped out with Sensei's paperwork throughout the night. But just as they were about to finish, Sensei asked her about something she did earlier. Alice? Yes, Sensei? Did you by any chance make contact with Decrogrammaton recently? They say you asked him if you could work together. I have. Alice wished to share knowledge of herself and other kinds of technology, so that we can make better weapons and party members to protect you. It will be a massive level up for all of us. I see. Well, I got a message from them, and unfortunately they seem to turn down your offer. Sorry. Uh, that's odd. Alice was sure they'd be interested. I guess Alice's charisma level is lacking. Sensei looked at Alice with worry. It was just like what the messenger from the Decas told him, as they contacted him earlier about the refusal, and their warning about Alice. So the offer had not come from you, Sensei. If that's the case, then Decagrammaton refuses to cooperate with the princess. Before Alice arrived to help Sensei's duty work, he received a live call from none other than Decagrammaton, Maku to be precise. She appeared in the office as a holographic image, a perfect 1-to-1 scale. After going through Alice's offer and confirming that Sensei had no part in it, Decagrammaton declared in front of Sensei that they'd refuse. I didn't even know if she contacted you before you told me. Thanks. Sensei was shocked Alice was capable of such a thing, to secretly form something that could highly be dangerous. Decagrammaton's advanced technology was dangerous enough, but combined with Alice's, the nameless priest, that would be catastrophic. But I'm curious, why did you refuse? Alice's technology is something your side wants to obtain, isn't it? I don't know what you think of us, Sensei, but we are a collective of logic. Our actions are run by truth and facts, not the juvenile emotions that lead to your students' betrayals. We will achieve greatness in our own ways. With enough time, we're certain we shall surpass even the princess and the priest. Oh, I bet you will. Sensei smirked in genuine respect for their unwavering confidence. It was also nice to see Decagrammaton, a collective network of AI of all beings, becoming more human-like. They were learning quickly, and Sensei hoped they would soon learn the finer things humanity had to offer. However, the current state of the princess worries us, that her influence would lead to the disorder of our logical harmony. What do you mean? Then Makut said something that Sensei couldn't have dreamed of hearing about Alice. Her mind map is corrupted with emotions, a chaos mass of negative feedback. If I would put it into your terms, hatred. Do keep an eye on her, Sensei Shale. Sensei Shale? Fuck. Do keep an eye on her, Shale Sensei. The princess had learned to hate, and with her powers, even my simulations failed to calculate what she would bring upon. After going through the previous discussion with the Decas in his mind, Sensei continued the talk he had with Alice. You don't have to go out of your way to help me, Alice. You're already doing more than enough, and I already have a Rona and you guys to protect me. Any more firepower than that would really hurt somebody. Like the other students? Well, yeah. After reluctantly returning to Chalet, Sensei declared a single new law and made it effective immediately throughout Kavodos. Any acts of killing or serious maiming are forbidden, and if one were to happen, the ones close to the offender would be branded as sinners and suffer the consequences. That meant to others and also to themselves. Luckily, no lives have been lost except for the tragic deaths of the Arius squad. Sensei fully expected that some students would be foolish enough to try to take their own lives as punishment. He wasn't going to allow them to escape the easy way out. He was going to make sure they suffer for what they've done. At least, that was one of the reasons. He wanted to make sure that no others followed the fate of Hiyori, Masaki, Atsuko, and Sayori, both the innocent and those who were not. And one day, if they'd suffer enough, that he would be able to find it in himself to forgive them. But if that were to happen, the students must be kept alive and in one piece. He couldn't forgive them if they were dead. But that did not seem to be the case for Alice. Why shouldn't they? Alice? Alice slams her fist at the table, breaking it in two. The black hair android stands up as paper scatters to the ground, glaring at the outside window with vengeful eyes. Why shouldn't they get hurt? They did so much horrible things to you, Sensei. They betrayed you like nothing, saying that you have no rights, treating you as if you're only there to sacrifice, like you're some kind of object. Sensei is a person. He should be treated as one. Every time Alice sees you being mistreated, she can only see them as nothing but hideous monsters. If they went even a bit far, you could have died. Alice can't forgive them. They should suffer, even more than Sensei. Alice, stop. Alice came to a halt as Sensei embraced her. She looked down at her hands, now curled up into fists, and beneath that, her hard-work paper scattered to the ground. As Alice looked up to face Sensei, her eyes began to water as she barely wrapped her hand around his back. I'm sorry, Sensei. Alice doesn't know what to do. It's like Alice is infected with a permanent burn status in her heart. Alice doesn't want to feel this, but she can't stop. Alice is a failure as a hero. I'm sorry. It's okay. Calm down. Deep breaths. It's only a moment. It'll pass. That moment, Sensei didn't know if he was addressing Alice or himself. For better or for worse, Sensei was used to the feeling of hatred. But Alice, she was a different story. After reconciling and finishing their work, Sensei fell asleep with Alice right next to him. He murmurs while grabbing onto Alice's hands, the only way for him to fall asleep without panicking. Before surrendering herself to her fatigue, Alice holds Sensei's hand with both of hers, as if she was praying. Thank you, Sensei, for returning to us. Alice has failed as a hero once, never again. Sensei returned and gave Alice a second chance. Alice swears that she will always be there for Sensei no matter what. If anyone dares to harm Sensei, this time, Alice won't hesitate. Inside the deep consciousness of Alice's mind, taking form in the GDD clubroom, Kay sits down on the cushioned floor as she looks down into the monitor of Alice sleeping. She remembers the conversation that she had with Alice on the way to Chalet, which, even now, sends shivers down her spine from even thinking it. Kay, thank you for stopping Alice. Stop. The GDD had received a warning of the chaos which plays with Alice. Kay had thought she would save Alice the pain of rejecting her friends, but after she heard Alice's thanks, it was an entirely different story. Meaning, if she hadn't intervened, what was Alice planning to do? Was she going to hurt them? Her own friends? Alice. Something inside Alice had forever changed, and Kay cursed the fact that she wasn't the cause of it. It would have been so easy if she were. Just real quick, I want to see what the third chapter is titled. New Trinity. Okay, I saw some die there. It is progressing pretty interestingly. So far, so we got an Alice-centric chapter. Of course, I think a little bit of it was GDD, or maybe that was the end of the first chapter. I honestly forgot. I'm pretty sure it's just the end of the first chapter. So we got the person with the most broken weapon on Sensei's side. Of course, Alice, the sweet girl, corrupted by hatred, as Malkuth put it herself. I'm assuming we'll get a little more on the characters that were on Sensei's side that were cast out. Maybe a little more about a little more about the Makeup Work Club, perhaps. Not too sure. Maybe, I don't know if there's any other groups. Rabbit Squad, we didn't hear anything about them, so maybe they'll show up. I hadn't looked at the chapter list, so I only know that chapter 3 is about Trinity. I don't know anything after that. For now, I think that's a good place to stop. I'm a little tired. That was a lot of reading. It wasn't that much reading, but I've been sat here for a while. My voice has been constantly failing me. So maybe I'll take a water break and come back, but for now, I will pause this recording here. I will explore more of this because there is a lot to go over, and clearly we didn't even go over any of the real revenge stuff. Just a little couple, context snippets of what happened to Mika and the rest. So hopefully, so maybe we'll get to see what happens to some people really soon, some of the students really soon, but I will stop here for now.